Since the oldest written records of humans, mermaid stories have been told. Yet how much do we actually know about these legendary sea creatures? The meaning of mermaid is as dynamic as the water itself because of her long and varied history. So let's explore and learn more about this mystical creature that enthralls us, and more so about the conspiracy of them actually being evil. From coastal areas in Ireland to the landlocked Karoo Desert in South Africa, tales of mermaids have been told for thousands of years by cultures all across the world. Mermaid combines the English words maid, which means a girl or young woman, and mare, which refers to the sea in Old English. Stating the obvious, a mermaid is an aquatic creature that lacks legs and has a fish-like tail on top of its human-like upper body. According to myths, mermaids are described as stunning females with seductive voices. They are a perfect symbol for the untamed, violent, yet fascinating character of the water due to their dual personas as a beguiling and beautiful young woman and a terrifying sea monster that drags sailors to their deaths. Given what most people know about mermaids, you may assume that mermaids are cool if you only took into account Disney's Ariel and the glamorous mermaids of Instagram. And in that case, you would be correct. It sounds fantastic to live in a crazy aquatic world where you never need your legs and your hair is flawless. Mermaids frequently appear in books, short stories, television programs, and films. But where do these tales originate? And is there any proof that these beings ever existed? The truth is, though, that the mermaids of myth and folklore were not as cool as we'd want them to be. They exhibited some wicked tendencies a lot of the time. For certain cultures, the mermaid represents the life and fertility of the sea, whereas in others, she represents the destructive power of the water, luring sailors to their deaths and acting as a sign of impending storms, rough sea, and tragedy. Interestingly, the mermaids of Greek and Roman mythology are surprisingly similar to the appearance and personality of the European stories we currently think of. On the other hand, ancient Greek tales frequently compare sirens to mermaids, and despite the fact that they have a lot in common, they are today thought of as two distinct entities. Let's delve further into some mythical tales about this fascinating creature to get more clarity on their personality. According to well-known Greek folktale, Thessaloniki, the sister of Alexander the Great, died in 295 BC and was reborn as a mermaid who resided in the Aegean Sea. She had a single query for the sailors whenever a ship passed: is King Alexander alive? Thessaloniki would approve the ship's departure if the sailors gave the right answer, stating, "He lives and reigns and conquers the earth." Any other response, it was rumored, would enrage her and she would summon a storm, sending the ship and its crew to their deaths at sea. A second account of the mermaids comes from the Slavic mythology, which mentions the rusalki, that are basically water nymphs. Their name quite literally translates into mermaid. Rusalki was first seen to as helpful spirits of agriculture and fertility, but by the 1800s, their reputation had changed to one that was more evil. They were thought to be the ghosts of women who drowned violently before passing away. After being reincarnated as evil mermaids, these women would then drag men and kids to their watery graves in their rage and grief. Another mention of the mermaids comes from around 1000 BC, in Syria, when the goddess Atargatis submerged herself into a lake to assume the shape of a fish. This gave rise to one of the oldest mermaid legends. She retained her top half in human form, but only her bottom half changed into a fish because the gods would not let her give up her incredible beauty. The image of Atargatis has been discovered by archaeologists on ancient temples, statues, and coins. There are a few mermaid folktales, even from the early Britons, including the Celts, but no images have been found to supplement them. Now comes the question: when were these creatures first referenced? The answer to that is as follows. The Norman Chapel in Durham Castle, which was constructed in 1078 by Saxon stonemasons, contains the first representation of a mermaid in England. The mermaid can be seen on the carving along with two leopards and various hunting scenes. The idea that mermaids might actually exist is one thing that has interested people for a very long time. People have reported seeing mermaids with their own eyes, from divers to explorers. The roots of mermaids seem to have occurred thousands of years ago, but they're still relevant today. But even after all this, and despite occasionally captivating stories, there is little to no proof that mermaids actually exist. That is excluding the personal accounts from people all across the world. But let's say the personal accounts were real, then many individuals have reported seeing mermaids swimming in the oceans of the world throughout history. Let's learn more in depth about a couple of these mermaid sightings. Some people in the 2nd century thought that mermaid bodies were washing up on the shores. Scales coated their entire bodies. According to Pliny the Elder, the governor of Gaul even issued an official letter to Emperor Augustus informing him of these creatures. Columbus, a notable explorer, is believed to have seen 3 sirens or mermaids in 1493 off the coast of Hispaniola. Contrary to mythology, he claimed these creatures lacked beauty because of some male facial traits. They are disproved by historians as possible manatee sightings. However, no one is entirely sure what Columbus encountered. On a shore in 1967, a ferry carrying visitors was startled to see a blonde mermaid. The witnesses described this aquatic creature as appearing to be devouring a raw salmon fish while the waves splashed on top of her. For capturing an image of this mermaid, a prize money of $25,000 was offered. Nobody has ever been able to locate or establish the existence of this creature. Many people are still trying to look for information, as the prize is still relevant today. Contrary to common perception, all of these instances are sufficient to draw the conclusion that mermaids weren't always good and were mostly evil. We know you're also thinking that the mermaids are a little fishy, because we sure did. This is also supported by the fact that, according to historians, the mermaid represents the soul's temptations. So, feel free to rethink about believing those sugar-coated stories about mermaids you heard when you were a kid, and let us know your thoughts on our take on the possibly evil mermaids. We'll see you next time with another amazing mythical story. Until then, goodbye.